There are moments when faith feels lighter than fear, when hope trembles under the weight of waiting and the sky seems closed no matter how sincerely the heart speaks. This is one of those stories. Not a story of thunder or instant answers, but a story born in stillness. A moment where heaven appears silent, and yet everything is already moving. If this story touches something you recognize, this space exists for people who want to see what others miss in the Bible. These stories are for those who want faith explained, not rushed. Stay with us and let this journey continue. Imagine a night without stars, no sign, no voice, only breath, sand beneath tired feet, and a prayer that feels unfinished. In Scripture, silence is never empty. It is never random. It is the place where fear tests the soul, and where belief must stand without support. Many walk away here, others stay, and the difference between them changes everything. This story begins in that space, where nothing happens on the surface, but everything is being decided underneath. The Bible often draws our attention to miracles, but rarely to the waiting that comes before them. Yet waiting is where faith is revealed, not the loud kind that speaks confidently, but the quiet kind that remains when answers do not come. In this story, there are no crowds at first, no celebration, only an ordinary life, an ordinary day, and an extraordinary silence that presses against the heart like a question without words. Close your eyes for a moment and listen to the quiet. Hear the wind move across dry ground. Feel the pause between prayer and response. This is where the story truly begins. Because before faith can be rewarded, it must be tested. Before light appears, darkness must be faced honestly. And before heaven speaks, the heart must decide whether silence will become doubt or devotion. This is not a story about weak faith. It is a story about faith that is willing to stay, about trust that does not demand proof, about a moment when nothing changes outwardly, but everything shifts inwardly. As we step into this story, remember this: silence does not mean abandonment. Sometimes it means preparation. Sometimes it means that what is coming is too important to rush. Stay with the story, because what heaven does next will only make sense if you understand why it waited. Where nothing seems to happen. The story does not begin in a palace or a temple. It begins where nothing seems important enough to be remembered. A small place, a quiet stretch of land where days repeat themselves and history appears asleep. No trumpets announce this moment. No crowd gathers. The ground is ordinary, the sky familiar, and life moves at the slow rhythm of survival. This is how many biblical turning points begin: unnoticed, uncelebrated, and easily ignored. The people here wake up as they always do. They work, they wait, they hope quietly. Faith exists, but it has learned to whisper. Expectations are low, shaped by disappointment and long seasons without answers. This is not a place of rebellion, but of fatigue. A place where prayers have been spoken so many times that silence has become part of daily life. Heaven feels distant, not because God has left, but because waiting has worn the heart thin. What makes this setting powerful is not what is visible, but what is missing. There is no sign that something is about to change, no warning that a test is approaching. Everything looks stable, predictable, almost safe. Yet Scripture often hides its greatest movements inside ordinary days. The moment before transformation rarely feels special, it feels normal. And that is what makes it dangerous. Because when nothing looks urgent, faith can slowly fall asleep. In this place, the conflict has not yet appeared, but it is already forming. Not as an enemy outside, but as a question inside the heart. How long can faith endure without reassurance? How long can trust remain standing when nothing confirms it? The setting itself becomes the pressure. The quiet becomes the challenge. The routine becomes the test. This is where the story speaks directly to the present moment, because many lives look exactly like this setting. No crisis, but no clarity. No collapse, but no breakthrough. Just time passing, prayers waiting, and hearts learning how to live with uncertainty. The Bible does not rush through these moments. It slows down, inviting us to notice what we usually overlook. As the sun rises over this quiet place, nothing changes on the surface, but beneath the stillness, something is being measured. Not strength, not talent, not influence, only faith. And the next step of the story will reveal whether that faith can survive when silence becomes heavy. Because what happens next will not depend on the place, but on the response of the heart that lives within it. When faith is tested by silence. Every story reaches a moment when faith is no longer theoretical. This is that moment. Nothing dramatic happens at first. No enemy appears, no voice speaks from the sky. Instead, the conflict arrives quietly, disguised as waiting. Days pass, prayers rise, and heaven remains still. This is where fear begins to work, not loudly but patiently. It asks questions faith cannot easily answer. What if nothing changes? What if the silence means no one is listening? In Scripture, this is the most dangerous test, not persecution, not loss, but uncertainty. Because fear does not need proof to grow, it only needs time. The heart starts measuring God's presence by visible results. And when results do not come, trust begins to shake. This is the battlefield, not outside, but within. A choice forms slowly: stay faithful without reassurance, or retreat into doubt disguised as wisdom. The Bible shows again and again that silence comes before surrender. Before Abraham speaks, before David moves, before Esther risks everything. The pause is intentional. It exposes motives. It reveals whether faith depends on answers or on God Himself. This is the moment when belief either matures or collapses. No one sees it, but everything depends on it. As the weight of silence grows, the heart stands alone. No encouragement, no confirmation. Only the memory of promises and the courage to trust them without proof. This is the conflict that defines the story. Because once faith survives this moment, nothing will ever be the same again. When heaven moves without sound, the miracle does not arrive the way fear imagined it would. There is no thunder splitting the sky, no sudden spectacle demanding attention. Instead, something shifts quietly, almost unnoticed. The silence does not break, it transforms. What once felt empty now feels full, not with noise, but with certainty. This is how heaven often moves, not to impress the eyes, but to steady the heart. In the Bible, some of the most powerful interventions happen without announcement. The sea parts only after the step is taken. The strength comes only after the decision is made. The answer appears not at the height of desperation, but at the moment faith stops demanding proof. This miracle follows that pattern. Nothing dramatic changes at first, yet everything is different. The weight lifts. The fear loosens its grip. Trust breathes again. Those watching from the outside might see nothing at all. Life looks the same. The place is unchanged. The sky remains calm. But inside, faith recognizes what has happened. God has responded, not by removing the situation, but by entering it. The miracle is not escape, it is presence. Not rescue from the fire, but peace within it. This is the kind of intervention Scripture rarely highlights, yet constantly reveals. A heart strengthened, a resolve renewed, a fear silenced without being argued with. Heaven answers, not always by changing circumstances, but by changing the one who waits. And once that happens, the silence no longer feels threatening. It feels purposeful. The miracle is real, even if it leaves no visible mark. Because the greatest sign is not what moves around us, but what becomes unmovable within us. What silence was teaching all along. When the moment passes, the lesson remains. Scripture never wastes silence. It uses it to teach what noise cannot. This story reveals a truth many overlook. Faith is not proven when answers arrive, but when trust survives without them. The waiting was not empty. It was shaping something deeper than relief. It was forming endurance, humility, and dependence on God, rather than outcomes. The Bible shows that God often withholds explanation to protect transformation. If answers came too soon, faith would remain shallow. If relief arrived immediately, trust would never mature. Silence strips belief down to its core. It removes applause, certainty, and control, leaving only a decision to believe God for who He is, not for what He gives. That decision changes everything. This lesson reaches beyond the story and into the present. Many moments in life feel unanswered, not because God is absent, but because He is working beneath the surface. What looks like delay is often preparation. What feels like distance is often refinement. Faith grows strongest when it is forced to stand without emotional support, visible progress, or reassurance. Scripture reminds us that miracles do not always look like change around us. Sometimes they look like courage within us. Peace that remains, obedience that continues, hope that refuses to collapse. These are not small victories. They are the foundation of unshakable faith. The lesson is clear, even if it is uncomfortable. Silence is not the enemy of belief. It is the training ground, and those who learn to trust God there discover something powerful. When faith no longer depends on answers, nothing can destroy it. Staying when silence ends. As this story comes to rest, nothing explodes into celebration. There is no sudden applause from the sky. What remains is quieter and stronger. A heart that stayed, a faith that did not retreat, a trust that learned to breathe in silence and walk forward without guarantees. This is how biblical stories often close, not with noise, but with transformation. The people God uses most are rarely the loudest. They are the ones who remain when others leave, the ones who trust when understanding fails, the ones who keep walking even when heaven feels distant. Scripture reminds us that faith is not measured by how fast answers come, but by how deeply trust is rooted when answers delay. If this story felt familiar, this channel exists for people who want to see what others miss in the Bible. These stories are for those who need faith explained, not rushed. If you recognize yourself here, stay with this journey. Subscribe, not out of habit, but because this is the kind of faith you want to grow. Before you leave, pause for a moment. Take a breath. Let the noise fade. And if this story spoke to you, leave one simple word in the comments. Believing. Not as a promise of perfection, but as a quiet decision to trust, even when the sky is silent. Until the next story, may peace remain steady in your heart, courage guide your steps, and faith continue to grow where silence once lived.